Most people approach learning backward. They want to be creative and original right from the start. They see experts doing something amazing and try to copy the result without understanding the process. They skip steps, looking for shortcuts, and wonder why progress comes so slowly. Meanwhile, Japanese masters across centuries, from sword fighters to tea ceremony experts to calligraphy artists, followed a simple three-stage system that turned ordinary students into masters. This system is called Shuhari, and it works for learning anything from playing guitar to writing code to mastering mathematics. Shuhari breaks down into three Japanese words: Shu, which means to follow or protect the traditional way; Ha, which means to break away or detach from tradition; and Ri, which means to leave or separate completely, creating your own way. These three stages represent the complete journey from beginner to master. The system works not because it is complicated, but because it respects how human learning actually happens. Most people fail at learning because they try to skip straight to the third stage without building the foundation of the first two. The first stage, Shu, means following the rules exactly as taught without adding your own style or creativity. When a student began learning sword fighting under Miyamoto Musashi, they did not get to invent their own techniques or develop personal flair. They copied their teacher's movements exactly, down to the smallest details. The angle of the blade, the position of the feet, the rhythm of breathing, everything had to match perfectly. This might sound boring or limiting, but it served a critical purpose. Think of Shu like learning the alphabet before writing poetry. You cannot create beautiful sentences if you do not know how letters work. You cannot innovate in mathematics if you do not understand basic operations. The Shu stage builds what Japanese masters called correct form. This means your body and mind learn the proven path that has worked for hundreds or thousands of students before you. You are not being creative yet because you're building the base that creativity will later stand on. Modern education often skips or rushes through Shu. Teachers encourage students to find their own way or express themselves before they have mastered the basics. This sounds good in theory but creates serious problems. Students end up building on weak foundations. They develop bad habits that become harder to break later. They miss the subtle details that separate good performance from great performance. The Japanese approach says something different. Master the fundamentals completely before trying to add your own ideas. Respect the traditional way because it represents accumulated wisdom from everyone who came before you. A practical example shows how this works. When Japanese students learn calligraphy, they spend months or even years just copying their teacher's brushstrokes, not creating their own style, not experimenting with different approaches, just copying. The student places their paper over the teacher's work and traces the exact movements over and over. This seems like it would make everyone's calligraphy look the same, but the opposite happens. By following the traditional form so completely, students internalize the principles that make good calligraphy work. Later, when they reach the Ha stage, their personal style emerges naturally from this deep understanding rather than from surface-level imitation. Research in skill development confirms what the Japanese discovered centuries ago. Studies show that beginners who spend more time on deliberate practice of fundamentals progress faster in the long run than those who jump quickly to advanced techniques. The brain needs time to build correct neural pathways. Rushing this process creates weak connections that limit future growth. Shu honors this reality by refusing to hurry. The second stage, Ha, means breaking away from the rules and beginning to experiment. But notice something important. Ha only works after Shu. You cannot break the rules effectively until you know them completely. A jazz musician cannot improvise beautifully without first mastering music theory and technique. A chef cannot create new dishes without understanding traditional cooking methods. Ha represents the stage where you start testing variations, trying different approaches, and discovering what works for your particular strengths and circumstances. When a samurai completed the Shu stage of sword training, they had mastered all the basic forms their teacher could show them. At this point, that teacher would often send them away to train with other masters or to test themselves against different opponents. This forced breaking of the comfortable student-teacher relationship pushed them into Ha. They had to adapt their perfect forms to new situations, different teaching styles, and unexpected challenges. Through this process, they discovered which techniques worked best for their body type, personality, and fighting style. Ha requires courage because it means accepting that you might fail. In Shu, you had clear guidance. Your teacher showed you exactly what to do. In Ha, you must make your own choices about what to keep, what to modify, and what to discard. This uncertainty scares many students, which is why some never leave Shu. They become very good at copying, but never develop their own voice or approach. The Japanese masters understood that this stage of uncertainty and experimentation is necessary. You cannot become truly skilled without going through the discomfort of Ha. Modern learners often do Ha too early, before completing Shu. They try to be creative and original before mastering the basics. This leads to what looks like innovation, but is really just confusion. True innovation comes from deep understanding, not from ignorance of fundamentals. The Shuhari system protects against this by making Shu non-negotiable. You must complete the first stage before earning the right to break the rules in the second stage. The third stage, Ri, means leaving or separating from all forms and creating your own way. At this level, you are no longer following anyone's system, not even as a reference point. You have internalized the principle so completely that you act naturally without thinking about rules or techniques. Your skill becomes an expression of who you are rather than something you learned from someone else. This is mastery. Miyamoto Musashi's final years show Ri perfectly. After decades of following traditional sword schools and then experimenting with different approaches, he developed his own style called Niten Ichiryu, which used two swords instead of one. This was not random creativity. It emerged from his complete mastery of traditional single sword techniques combined with years of testing what worked in real combat. His innovation made sense because it grew from a foundation of deep traditional knowledge. When he wrote the Book of Five Rings near the end of his life, he was no longer teaching specific techniques. He was teaching principles that went beyond any single approach to combat. Most people never reach Ri. Not because they lack talent, but because they never completed Shu and Ha properly. They tried to skip to mastery without building through the earlier stages. The few who do reach Ri share a common pattern. They spent years in Shu, faithfully following traditional methods. They spent more years in Ha, experimenting and finding their own way. Only then did Ri emerge naturally, almost by accident. They did not force it or plan for it. It simply happened as a natural result of the previous work. Here is how to apply Shuhari to anything you want to learn. First, identify someone who has already mastered what you want to learn. This could be a teacher, a mentor, or even just studying the work of experts in that field. Second, commit to copying their approach exactly for a specific period. If you are learning guitar, play songs exactly as the original artist played them. If you are learning writing, analyze how great writers structure their sentences and copy that structure. If you are learning programming, recreate projects that expert programmers have built. During this Shu phase, resist the urge to add your own style. You might think your ideas would make things better, but you do not have enough experience yet to judge that accurately. Trust the traditional approach. It has worked for others and it will work for you. Spend at least 6 months to a year in pure Shu for most skills, longer for complex ones like music or martial arts. After you can perform the traditional approach smoothly without thinking, begin. Start making small changes. Try different variations. Test what works and what does not. Keep a journal of your experiments. Notice what feels natural for your body and mind versus what feels forced. During this phase, which might last another year or more, you are discovering your personal relationship with the skill. You are finding your voice within the art. Finally, if you continue practicing long enough, Re will emerge on its own. You will stop thinking about rules or techniques. The skill will flow naturally as an expression of who you are. At this point, others might look at your work and think you are naturally talented. They will not see the years of disciplined copying in Shu or the years of careful experimenting in Ha. They will only see the effortless performance of Re. This is fine. Let them think what they want. You know the path you walk to get there. The beauty of Shuhari is that it removes confusion about how to practice. You always know what stage you are in and what that stage requires. In Shu, copy without adding your own ideas. In Ha, experiment and test variations. In Re, trust your internalized understanding and create freely. This clarity makes learning faster because you stop wasting energy wondering if you're doing it right. You simply follow the stage you're in. Japanese masters discovered this system through centuries of teaching students. They noticed that people who followed this natural progression learned faster and reached higher levels than those who tried to invent their own path from the beginning. Modern science now confirms what they knew through experience. The human brain learns complex skills best through stages that match exactly what Shuhari describes. First, accurate repetition builds neural pathways. Then, variation strengthens and flexes those pathways. Finally, integration makes the skill automatic and personal. Shuhari is not just tradition. It is a description of how learning actually works at the neurological level. Thank you for watching.